Hi guys, last week I asked you the question, do you want me to explain in a bit more detail the gut overview diagram that I posted up, and the answer was yes, so that's great, here we are. Because this stuff is really important to me, something I'm really interested in, and for my own personal benefit, to be honest, to start with. But if I can help other people with it, then fantastic. That's great, and that's certainly an aim that I want to try and bring. With this knowledge that I'm kind of creating. The simple reason is that if you want to improve your health, you want to lose weight, you want more energy, you want to look younger, you just want to improve everything regarding your life, how you feel, the way you act, the choices that you make and take. It's going to improve people because your gut is almost like another brain. Okay, what happens in the gut is going to affect the brain. The two are massively heavily linked. You can Google that, and there'll be tons and tons of stuff to back that up. The trouble with a lot of this stuff is it can be really complicated, because it is, to be honest. But my idea is that how can I make it simpler for people. Now, I'll be honest, what I'm going to tell you over the next few steps will go over your head. Trust me, I've been there, and it's something that I'm still learning and picking up. The idea though is not for me to go, hey, I'm going to completely show off now and show people what I know. That's not what I want. But maybe more to give you the confidence that there's a lot more going on, and I actually know a lot more than what maybe people think that I do know, and I can help them with stuff. Because when it comes to improving your health, losing weight, there's a lot more going on than just what you eat, how you're exercising, how you're training and moving. A lot of people talk about calorie deficits and stuff like that in the health and fitness industry now, but there's a lot more beyond that. If you're someone who's overweight and you're struggling, just asking someone to eat less isn't going to work, not in the long term, because if you don't feel good about yourself, your energy is low, your mood is down, trying to help someone to stay on plan just isn't going to work just by telling them to do it. We've all been there, you know what I'm talking about. So if we can maybe sort of enlighten people a little bit, give them a bit more awareness that actually let's know a bit more about what happens with gut function, so you can take more personal responsibility over it, and hopefully in the long run that improves your choices, what you decide to do with the actions that you take, and then essentially how you feel, and life just becomes a little bit easier. The exercise plan is easier, sticking to a certain nutrition plan, way of eating is a lot easier to sort of sustain. So ramble over, let's get to it. When people talk about eating and digestion, people immediately think about their stomach, because that's essentially where it takes place. Now, digestion actually starts up here, in your mind, in your brain. That moment when you think about a certain food, you could close your eyes right now and think about your favourite food. You will start to produce saliva in the mouth. This is what we call the cephalic phase. Okay, so this is the first signal from the brain to go, something's going to be coming in here. I need to let everyone now down below get ready for digestion. So remember that digestion always starts in the mouth, and that's often why we talk about being more mindful about the way that you approach and eat your food. If you're eating on the go, you're eating at your desk, you're eating while you're on the phone, you're not really thinking about the food, you're thinking about something else. So the science is that you're not putting your body in a position to do what it's supposed to do, which is again why people can often have certain issues with digestion, because of that beginning of how they think and what they do, and with actually eating. So digestion starts in the mind, remember that, and then you obviously eat the food, and other things are going on with enzymes, salivary amylase and lingual lipase. Okay, don't worry about too many of the words at this point. And then you swallow the food, it goes down your esophagus, which is big, 2 layers of muscle that goes from your throat down to about here, and then you've got your lower esophageal sphincter, which is kind of like this little flap. It opens and closes, and it lets food out and stops things coming in, ideally. Now, this is the first thing that I want people to maybe be aware of now, because this is really, really common. We're talking about low stomach acid here. Now, a lot of people I know, and I've done research behind this, they get this feeling, let's say a burning sensation, and then maybe they think it's heartburn, or they've got too much acid, and they'll go to the doctor, and then he'll go, yes, you do have that, and he's only picking up the symptoms. The trouble is with low stomach acid is the symptoms are often wrong. What happens here is the esophageal sphincter doesn't close, it's opening too many times, so you're getting bits of acid from the stomach entering this part. So although you're getting that high acid feeling, you're actually getting low stomach acid because there's other things going on, and there's a thing that we can do that can potentially help with this, and I've already successfully done that with a couple of people. So that's something you can ask me personally, that if you've been told that you have high acid, I'd love to challenge that, because it probably isn't. 80 to 90% of people have low stomach acid issues, and this is a lot of the reason why they struggle with digestion, and they don't get the results that they want, because they're not breaking down their food, they're not absorbing certain nutrients, so they're struggling with food cravings and other kinds of deficiencies that start bringing other things out, with things like the skin and all sorts. So first thing to think about there, maybe you have low stomach acid. Again, so you can ask me about that. So we're into the stomach now. We've got certain cells, parietal cells, they release hydrochloric acid. We're going to call that HCl. This is responsible for sterilising the food, because although you may be eating really, really clean foods, they're still going to have bacteria on. So we could talk about potential food poisoning here. If you're someone who may often get things like that, or you're more prone to it, maybe you have low levels of HCl at certain points, during, let's say, your day or your week, or your month. That for various reasons, we're not going to go too deep into it here, otherwise we'll be here for ages, but high stress can cause lower levels of HCl. So high stress through just generally emotional stuff, or physical, maybe training is playing a part on that. So HCl, really, really important part of gut and digestion. Also, it then starts to degrade protein down. It's the first stage of breaking protein down and making the protein into this, let's say, larger surface area, so it can then continue that further on in the stomach, and then hopefully absorb into where it needs to go. And then we've got chief cells, and it releases pepsinogen from your pancreas. Okay, now this is an inactive enzyme. Anything that ends in a gen is inactive. Now it does this because pancreas is a protein. All of your organs are basically proteins, So if this was an active enzyme, it would start to eat your pancreas and all the other organs in your body. That's not a good place to be, and there is a situation where people can have that if they've got other issues with their stomach, which we won't go into at this point. But yeah, so pepsinogen turns into pepsin with HCl, so it's an active form of the enzyme that breaks down proteins once it's in that part where it's allowed to actually break down food rather than you. So then food's in the stomach for about 1 to 3 hours, ideally 2. Again, if you've got low stomach acid, there's a good chance the food's going to be in your stomach longer. Okay. Then it drops into your small intestines, which is called the duodenum. And then we get this process where chyme is produced, and it goes through this churn and turn type process, and it's still digestion. And then cholecystokinin is signalled to the liver, because the liver produces, the gallbladder is in the liver. The gallbladder produces or releases bile, which breaks down fat. Right, with me so far. Lipase breaks down fat, but it can't break down fat on its own. It needs the bile to emulsify fat, so it kind of starts to degrade it, weaken it, and then lipase can digest the fat. So something to think about there is if you don't have great liver function for whatever reason, various reasons, dietary maybe, stress, whatever the case may be, you're going to struggle to break down healthy fats, which are really, really important for other parts of the body, which we won't go into on this video. But that's a really important part of function, because it breaks down the fat, and then that goes off into the lymphatic system, which goes all around the body. And again, a lot of people who may, let's say, have certain illnesses, cardiovascular disease and things like that, it could be that they don't have a great lymphatic system, fat's getting clogged up. So this is a great case for people moving regularly. Are you moving? Because that moves things around in the lymphatic system. Even massages do that too. Okay, so where are we? Well, we've just got to the liver. Right, the pancreas, we've mentioned that they release certain enzymes. Okay, we've talked about pepsin, but then we've just mentioned lipase, which breaks down fat, and then amylase breaks down carbs and sugars, and there's various sugars that make up a carbohydrate that then breaks that down. You've also got trypsinogen, again that's an inactive enzyme which becomes trypsin. That further breaks down the protein after the job that the HCl done. And then proteins turn into amino acids and carbohydrates turn into sugars. They then go through the digestive wall, which is in your small intestines, for absorption. Okay, but we've already mentioned that fat goes off in a different direction throughout the lymphatic system, but then they all come back to the liver, and then they go off into their various parts to do their job. Hopefully, if you've got great gut function. But if you don't, this is where certain deficiencies do occur, and then that starts to get the ball rolling with other issues. Okay, and then it carries on, and waste goes into, let's say, your colon, and filters toxins, absorbs electrolytes, and that's kind of a real basic overview of gut function, from your mind to your backside. Now, as I said, there's a lot of stuff in there that's going to go, what the hell have you just told me? You've now created a lot more confusion. But the point is, maybe go through that again and pick out something that might have interested you, and then you can ask me and we can take things from there. But I think some of the key areas there are probably emotional stress, physical stress. So we're talking about, are you generally stressed, in life? And physical stress, how do you feel after eating meals? Do you often find you get a little bit bloated, or your energy is low, maybe you're not sleeping very well, they're great signs for that. Because then we can start to look at the other areas of why aren't you breaking certain foods down, because if you're not breaking them down you won't be absorbing them. If you're not absorbing them, they're not going to the certain parts of the body that needs them, and then a lot of, let's say you're on a really good diet and you spent money on it, you could actually be wasting the money because something's not quite working inside of your body. And it's actually fairly simple to address, to fix, to improve, if that's what it is that you want to do. There's various functions that are going to be caused from having, let's say, a dysfunctional gut. Talk about mind, stress, mood, and I often talk about your ability to exercise better or eat better depends on your mood. If your mood is low, you're going to struggle to stick to the things that you know that you should be doing. Okay, and then we can get into the diet, and maybe you do have deficiencies, because if you do, you're not working very well at a cellular function. We talk about metabolism. If your cells aren't being fed well, they won't work, because they work in a certain way, and they're almost like chains. If something's missing in the chain, you're just not working as well. So you might be eating really well, you might be exercising, but you're still not getting the results that you want, because maybe there's something missing. You're not connecting the dots with other areas. And we can look at things like sleep. If you struggle to get to sleep, or you get to sleep but you keep waking up during the night, again, these are really big symptoms of something's not quite working too well inside. So let's improve that, because then the stuff on the surface just gets a lot easier. So the areas that we look at, obviously, your diet, what are certain environments. We can look at the sleep a little bit deeper, and your exercise. A lot of people, maybe they don't move enough, but some people move too much, which isn't a problem. But what happens when we exercise a lot is we create what we call oxidative stress, which is a natural process of the body. But if you're not doing certain other things correct, your body isn't able to nullify the effect of oxidative stress, and then that ends up with dysfunction of the cell. So it can all sound really, really complicated, but the idea is that you have this issue. We then zoom out a little bit, which is why it's often best done with someone else. You give me all this information, I'll zoom out and go, well, that bit might not be quite working too well for you at the moment. Let's look at that, and then let's change that, and then we can then review it and then take things from there. Anyway, rambled on way too long now. So watch this video, pick out any bits that you want to know a little bit more about, and then we can go from there. Speak to you soon. Take care.